Audi TT Mk1 pre-MOT checks at home. Hi all, Andy here and welcome back to the channel where tonight I am covering pre-MOT checks. The car has 1 month left on its current MOT and I want to give it the best chance possible of passing first time. I have another video on the channel that covers weekly checks and what you should be checking on your Audi TT. If you've not already done so, please do check that video out. I've broken this down into sections covered and put it into a list with timestamps here. If you find today's video useful, please do give it a thumbs up. Also think about subscribing if you've not already done so for future content on the Audi TT and my back catalogue of Audi TT videos. Right, let's get started with section 1, lighting. A fairly important part of your car's safe operation is being able to see and being seen on the road. Therefore, one of the easy checks you can do at home is to verify all of your lights work. Turning your lights on, check that there are no bulbs out and all operate with a single switch on or off. So turn to your headlights to start. Check the side lights and the full lights as well as the operation of the full beam. You can do this by filming your car on your phone if you set it up, or you can ask a friend to observe. The lights operate in pairs, so make sure the beam colour and brightness match. If one is more dull than the other, it may be worth changing both bulbs. One thing my car has failed on in the past, looking at its history, was number plate bulbs. There are 2 of these under the boot lip pointing downwards, so make sure both bulbs are illuminated with the headlights on. This is also a good opportunity to make sure your lenses are nice and clear on the headlights. If they are faded and cloudy, I cover how to restore your headlights in the video listed above. Please do check it out as it makes a world of difference. Try your indicators next. You can flick these on from the stalk and get out and check. In the garage this is easy as you can see the light reflecting on the wall. Try both sides and check front and back. Also, check the operation of the lights from the hazard switch. Don't forget to check your side repeaters also. With the car running and someone observing, engage reverse. Make sure the clear bulb is coming on. Are all of your reflectors visible? Tinting lights is popular, but obscuring the reflectors will also lead to a failure. Make sure these are clearly seen and do their job. Rear lights comprise of the running lights that come on with the headlights, the brake light when the pedal is depressed, the indicator and the reverse light we already tested, and on the driver's side, the fog light. Don't forget, with the exception of the fog light and reverse light, they should all work in pairs on both sides of the car. One job that is more taxing and not one you can easily do at home is headlight levelling. This is controlled by the switch that can be found in the front passenger wheel well in the UK and is attached to the lower wishbone. You can jack the car up and see if it's attached as they break quite easily, but that is probably the limit of the testing you can do. There is also a levelling switch on the rear axle. So for the MOT lighting checks, think of the 3 Bs, that is the beam, bulbs and brightness. Next, let's look at steering and suspension. A lot of this is visual checks rather than performance, but let's break it down into what can be checked. Firstly, get behind the wheel. Does the wheel feel tight and solid and without any play? Does the vehicle drive straight without any crazy wandering? And does the steering return to centre? All of the above should be true. Also consider if the steering feels heavy. Make sure the power steering fluid is topped up if not. Also make sure that the steering lock only engages when the key is removed from the ignition and the wheel is turned. Looking at the suspension next, it is a good idea to walk around the car and give it a good shove on all 4 corners. Make sure the car returns to level and listen out for any unusual creaking or clunking noises. If the car is not rising back up and levelling, the shocks could be leaking or there may be a broken spring. You can also remove your wheels and give the shock absorbers a visual inspection. Again, look for any leaks or fluids that may be coming from the struts. While the wheels are off, this will give you a great chance to look for one of my most common MOT failures over the years and one that the garage found for me just last year. In fact, it was the reason for my very first Audi TT video here on the channel. I highly recommend checking it out, and it was the replacement of the inner CV boot. I will leave a link to my beginner's guide video above. The CV boot is made of rubber and had perished, meaning that the grease was leaking out from it and the dirt was getting in. It is fairly obvious to spot a failed gator, and you have 2 on each corner of the car, an inner and an outer CV boot. A failed boot will have thrown sticky and messy grease all around itself and all over the nearby components. The drive shaft will have to come off to do this, but I have documented the whole removal, replacing and refitting process in the video mentioned, so please do check it out. If you're prepared to give it a go, you should save yourself a few £100. Brakes. A lot of the brake checks will come from your own driving experience and using your ears. Do the brakes squeal when stopping? Do they feel unsure when you press the brake pedal? Does the car not hold tight on the handbrake when applied? Does the car pull to one side when you are braking? All of these things could point to weak brakes and a potential failure. You can of course make sure that the brake fluid level is topped up in the reservoir. If you have a micrometer or gauge, you can measure the thickness of your brake discs at home to check there is enough material left on them in relation to the minimum thickness stamped on the disc. If this is below minimum thickness, both sides of the car will need to be replaced, even if only one side of the car is low. You probably will not have one of these gauges at home if you're an occasional DIY mechanic, but you can look at the disc with the wheel off to see if there is a lip forming around the edge of the disc. This indicates disc wear and likely needs replacement. If in doubt, leave this one to the experts. Wheels and tyres are another good candidate to perform a lot of these MOT checks at home, as many are visual and require little or no special tools. Working on one wheel at a time, I would suggest jacking the car up and securing it on axle stands if you have them. Then get hold of the wheel and give it a really good wiggle up and down and side to side. See if there's any obvious play in the wheel. This could be the sign of a bad wheel bearing. Whilst you're up close and personal with the wheel, use your eyes and examine the tyre condition. Are there any obvious rips in the tyre wall where you've clipped a curb, or perhaps a bulge for the same reason? Check the tyre wear as well, as a bald tyre is another failure. These are simple things you can check with a tyre tread gauge that can be picked up fairly cheaply for a couple of pounds from eBay or Amazon. The minimum tread depth is 1.6mm, so if it's down to the wear bars, get them changed. You can do this at your leisure and shop around for the best deal rather than paying the garage price, which will undoubtedly be higher. Make sure the wheels themselves are in good condition also. Seatbelts are something the MOT will want to make sure are safe, i.e. they have no damage, the belt webbing is all intact and no fraying, the belt locks work under sharp tension, they are fastened to the relevant parts of the car correctly, and general operation is good. If the belts look to not meet these requirements, it is probably a good idea to get these replaced. There are plenty of spares around online for these. Bodywork and fittings cover everything else you can find on the outside of the car and some of the inside. So let's start with your number plates. These need to have the correct font, lettering and spacing of the letters, and there are specifications you can find to meet these online. You need one on the front, normally in white, and one at the back, normally in yellow. If your plates are standard from original purchase, it is likely that they will be fine as long as there is no damage and they are clean. If you have a personalised plate with odd spacing or fonts, not so much. Give your car a once round and make sure there are no damaged parts or panels with sharp edges. These too may cause a fail. Parts such as seat, trim panels, bumpers, engine mounts, wing mirrors, etc. need to be firmly fixed and free from excessive corrosion also. Whilst inside the car, check your illumination of your instruments. The Audi Speedo is part of the cluster and needs to be easily read and illuminated. If it is not working or not lighting up, get your cluster repaired. I have recently covered the cluster removal and getting it repaired on the channel, so if you want to see how straightforward this is, click the link at the top of the video. Examine the windscreen also. This should be free from chips and cracks and visibility should not be impaired. Also, make sure you inspect the windscreen wipers themselves, as they too can perish and lead to a failure. These are really cheap to replace too. As the wipers will be checked, make sure you have fluid in the bottle too. I had a leak in mine caused by the faulty headlight washers, so if you too have a similar problem with your headlight washers and want to see my ingenious way I repaired them, click the video link above. Eyes and ears ready for section 7, which is exhaust and emission systems. Okay, you do not have an emissions testing station at home, but you can take some measures to ensure readings are as accurate as possible for the test. So make sure there is plenty of fuel in the car and the oil levels are topped up. You can start the car and take a look underneath to examine the exhaust system. Any signs of a puff of smoke coming out from where it shouldn't, i.e. not the end of the tailpipe, would suggest a leak. Listen out for rattles also. Take a look in the engine bay too. If you spot something and are anything but a really competent mechanic, get it into an exhaust specialist to take a look. These jobs are difficult to reach, messy and a downright pain to manoeuvre unless you have a ramp. That is not to say you cannot do it yourself, but it could save you some hassle. Lastly, the horn. Fairly straightforward to test. Give the steering wheel a firm press in the middle to activate the horn. It should give off a loud sound. If it does not, please check the fuses on the end of the dashboard in case it has blown. Anything further, it may need a replacement. There are 2 of them and easy enough to replace either side of the radiator, just above the under tray. So that's my summary of pre-MOT checks you can do at home. If you think I've missed any or you can think of any additional ones, please do leave a note for me down in the comments where you can help others. If you have found this content useful, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also think about subscribing. Once again, thanks for watching and take care. See you soon.